Hello everyone, hope you're all doing well. Oops. Look, I want to take you one step further into understanding what is happening in our psyche. And it's very important for you to understand this. Your life and sanity depends on it. There are a bunch of things happening up here, and I want to explore with you to clarify for you as much as possible. And I want you to work with me inwardly and see how it works, how you can see it all as clearly as I hope you will. So we want to put separation between what is me and the role of brain and thought and so on, the relationship here. Is there a relationship? What is what? Because there are a bunch of things happening in the brain, and it confuses you thinking that whatever shows up in your head is you. And that's the problem. In other words, thoughts are the roots of all problems. And let's find out the relationship between this whole thing that is happening here, which has bamboozled you and doesn't let you see where is you, what is you, what is brain, what is thought, what are different kind of thoughts, who is who in here. So you won't be bamboozled by the thoughts of this thought showed up, what is it? Intrusive thought, that's about me, is it relevant, is it just let's discuss that. Do you remember when you were a child, or at any age? Some of us, most people in the world have had an experience of talking to God, like praying. Different styles, different ways, but praying. So who is doing the talking to God? Do you remember? You were sitting and talking to God, and that wasn't intrusive. It was you wishing or talking or praying to God, uttering words. And then there was a watcher. There was a thought that was watching you talking to God. The one that was talking to God, that was you talking to God. And there was a thought watching you, being aware of you talking to God, uttering those words. That was you. The one that was you talking to God, it was you using the apparatus of the brain to create those words and utter those words and talk, express that to God in that conversation. So there was you using the apparatus of the brain to create what you wanted to communicate to God, and there was you watching. There was a thought that was aware and watching that communication, that uttering. That was you. That watcher is the real you. The other one that was doing the talking was you using the apparatus of the brain. And the intrusive thoughts that we are all bamboozled with, where is that coming from? Obviously, when you're talking to God, that's not intrusive. You want to talk to God. So that is you using the apparatus of the brain communicating, creating words, and talking to God. So that's not intrusive. You're doing it. But the intrusive thoughts is something that is always against you. And by the power of the survival, instinctive survival mode, the prime directive of our life is to survive. And that instinct to survive, prime directive, to hold it up, it's against any intrusive thoughts, because intrusive thoughts are against you. And the instinct for survival, it's not logical to work with something that is, or creating something that is against you. So the intrusive thought that is always against you, your intentions, what's good for you, what you are all about, whatever it is that you're about, intrusive thoughts is opposite of that. It's something that you're not interested because intrusive thought is supposedly blocked and is against your prime directive of survival. So no intrusive thoughts would be yours because you are programmed to survive and protect yourself, and intrusive thoughts are against you. So you wouldn't be, because of your program of survival, you wouldn't be going against yourself, and intrusive thoughts are against you. So that couldn't be created by you. It's like even an animal who cannot think, but its survival instinct makes it not to go ram itself into a tree that has got a sharp branch sticking out of it. It can't think, can't reason, but instinctively, survival instinct protects him from doing something that is against itself, such as ramming himself into the sharp stick sticking out of a tree. Natural instinct is opposed and protects him from these intrusive behavior. Same thing with us. We wouldn't be saying, well, I'm going to ram myself into that stick coming out of a tree to kill myself. It's intrusive, it's illogical, it's against you, and your survival instinctive mode of survival will stop you from doing that, would not suggest that, would never attempt that, because it's against its programming, which is to protect itself for survival. So intrusive thoughts cannot be originated from you because it's against what you're programmed to. So where is intrusive thoughts coming from? It can't be your uttering, like when you're talking to God, which is not intrusive, you're creating it, which is when you're using the apparatus of the brain to create a communication, words and uttering to God. And then there is you who is watching this communication. This you using the apparatus of the brain to create this communication. There's a watcher, there's a thought that is watching. That watcher is the real superconsciousness, is the real you, is the you overseeing this communication, this connection. An intrusive thought is when you're not using the apparatus of the brain. The brain itself is creating thought, which is creating thought, all kinds of thoughts from all over. We've talked about it before. Independent of you, unbeknown of you, when you have nothing to do with it, is creating these thoughts. And you have to understand that only when you use the apparatus of the brain to create something, that's you, the actual thought, the watcher of this action of using the apparatus of the brain to talk to God, so to speak, that's the real you. The intrusive thought, it's the brain's creation, not yours, because intrusive is against you, against survival of you, survival instinct, so that cannot be you. So it is not you, it's the brain, but you are being reported of it. So you're the thought, the watcher again, that is seeing this intrusive thought has shaped. That is again the boss. You are the boss, the master, the one who's watching what's happening. It watches when it uses the brain to talk to God or create something or design something or figure out something. And it also is witnessed and is reported to watching the intrusives that are showing up. It's reported to it, hey, there's an intrusive thought. You become aware of it. That awareness is you. That awareness of you talking to God, using the apparatus of the brain, creating thoughts and conversation, uttering words to God, that awareness of it is you. The watcher of it is you. That you're using the brain's apparatus to create that. That's you. The watcher that is witnessing this happening is you. When the intrusive thought shows up, it's got nothing to do with you. You've got no notion of it, but it's reported to you. You become aware of it. That's awareness again is the same watcher. That's you. But the intrusive thought is not you, because you're not the one who's using the apparatus of the brain to create the intrusive thoughts, because intrusive thoughts in nature is against you, and your survival mode and instinct is against allowing intrusive thoughts to be created by you. So you're not the one who's creating it, because even an animal knows that it's not going to harm itself to ram into the tree. And your instinct, survival, knows that you're not going to kill yourself by ramming yourself into a tree. And intrusive thoughts is the same, is harmful. So you're against that, it's opposite of you. So you wouldn't be having anything to do with any intrusive thoughts. So if you understand this, then it's all clear for you that when an intrusive thought shows up about anything, inclination, gender, sexual interest, pedophile, harm, that has nothing to do with it. That's not you using the apparatus of the brain. It's the brain itself producing it, separate from you completely. You're oblivious to it, but you become aware of it because it's being reported to you. That who is being reported to, that awareness is you, not the intrusive thoughts. If you can understand that, then you can separate all these other thoughts that show up. HOCD, OCD, homosexual, OCD, whatever your gender is, opposite of whatever shows up, you will be clear. When you're heterosexual and these sort of thoughts showed up, then you can clearly see that it's intrusive thought. Intrusive thoughts is opposite, is against you, and nobody wants to say or act anything against itself. So those thoughts appearing, popping up in your head, has got nothing to do with you. It's not your doing, and it's not you. It's got nothing to do with you, and the topic of what is popping up is irrelevant. The fact that it's not you, not produced by you, you've got nothing to do with it, is important. That's what you should be focusing on, not what it is, because whatever it is, you've understood that intrusive thought is against you. You will have nothing to do with intrusive thoughts. You will never produce knowingly intrusive thoughts because you're not interested. Your instinct is to protect yourself and survival, and that's against the survival. So that wouldn't be you, but it's being reported to you, and that awareness that who is being reported to, that's you. And for that sense, you will know that you are the watcher, not the intrusive thought. So whatever the suggestion is irrelevant to you, and it's got nothing to do with you. You're always who you are, who you've always been, and you will always be, and you should never worry about these thoughts showing up, popping up in your head. I'll talk to you soon. Okay, so let me sum it up for you in a more condensed way and fast pacing. Here it is. So there is intrusive thoughts, which it cannot be us, because intrusive thoughts is against the mandate, the prime directive of survival, because it's against us. Anything against us is against us, and we don't do anything against ourselves due to the instinctive program that we have to not do anything against ourselves, unless we're crazy. We're talking about, sane people. Just as even an animal who can't think, but its survival mode protects him from ramming itself to a sharp edge of a tree, because it's not going to do anything against itself. That's a program that every living being has, and let alone us, the humans. We also have that, plus the fact that we can also see that this is dangerous and it's against my survival instinct. So definitely intrusive thought is not something that we would conjure up or we would think. Anything that is against us, against what I like, against what I prefer, against my health, against anything that is not me, I wouldn't naturally create that. So when it's created, it's got nothing to do with me. It's not us, it's not me. So there is intrusive thought, that is when the brain is using the apparatus of the brain and creates thoughts, because the brain is thought manufacturing plant, and 90,000 thoughts a day. It's got nothing to do with me, and most of it could be intrusive. But I have nothing to do with it, but I'm being reported to of its existence. If I, want to pay attention to what's being reported, most of the time we don't. We just do our things. Then there is me using the apparatus of the brain to do something, to learn something, figure out something, design something, produce something, or converse something, or talk to God, as we explained. And then there is me watching this talking to God, or these calculations, or using the apparatus of the brain being used, being done. That awareness, that watcher, is the real me. That who is talking to God is me using the apparatus of the brain to do something with it. The intrusive thought, I've got nothing to do with it. It's the brain using the brain's apparatus to do something with it and conjuring up shit or whatever it is. And the one who's being reported about this intrusive thought is the awareness, is me being reported that the brain is producing something, which I had nothing to do with. I was oblivious to it, was not part of it, never could be, because it's intrusive, and intrusive is against the survival instinct and the prime directive of mine. So the intrusive thoughts of any kind, it's got nothing to do with me. So it really doesn't matter what kind of intrusive thoughts. It's about sexuality, inclination, it's about harm, it's about pedophilia, it's about eating poison, it's about anything else. The topic of it doesn't matter. The fact that it's intrusive, and intrusive thought, creation of intrusive thought, cannot have anything to do with me, because it's against the survival instinct of me, the human being, or any other animal. So we've established that intrusive thought, anything that is against me, opposite of what I've always been and interested in, or it's against what I want it to be, it cannot be me. But it's being reported to me, that awareness that is being reported to me, that's me, but not the intrusive thoughts. That is when the brain is using its apparatus to create that kind of a nonsense. When you can understand all these, then you understand that it is you using the apparatus of the brain to talk to God or do something with it. It is you who's watching you using the apparatus of the brain. That's the real you, the awareness. Then it is intrusive thoughts, that it's the brain using its own apparatus to do something with it and creating nonsense. And then there is you that is being watched and reported to, that there is an intrusive thought is happening, which you had nothing to do with it, but you become aware of it. If you understand this and separate yourself and can see how separated you are from these things, intrusive thoughts mean nothing, because its content and its topic is irrelevant, because its whole existence is got nothing to do with you, is independent from you, and you're independent from it. So you should never be bamboozled by thinking that intrusive thought is a suggestion or definition or defining you, about you, anything about you, or your interest, your inclination of any sort, whether sexual, non-sexual, whatever it is. It's intrusive thoughts, and you got nothing to do with it, but you're watching it because it's being reported to you, because you are the awareness, because that is you, the boss, is being reported to you. That's all. That's how you get to know about it, not because you had anything to do with it being produced. Nothing to do with it, irrelevant to you, meaningless to you. I hope that explains something for you, and I'll talk to you soon.